We've had to supplement that with basically working on three things. And this is one thing I want to make sure I leave to you today. I believe CEOs work on three things. It's 100 things for them to go work on. Trust me. Three big ones to get right. Make sure you've got a strategy. Second, make sure you've got an operating model that executes the strategy. Third, get the best people in the world to execute the operating model. When you go to get a chance to go to a cocktail party or speak at the Haas School of Business, those are all nice to-dos. But if you don't get the three fundamentals right, you'll never get the job done. Those are the three cornerstones of getting the business right. I felt good about the majority of our shit. We had to simplify our operating model. One thing we had was a very thick matrix and a very deep hierarchy. We had 12 levels between the CEO and the individual contributor. We're now 8. It used to take 2.2 people on average to make a decision at HP. It's now 1.4. Go look at levels of management. And draw this for any company. Ask any big company how many levels it is. And then also ask them how many people need to touch a decision every time they make a decision. And then just simply connect those dots. And however wide the circle is, your job is to make sure it's as tight as possible. We've cut out 4 layers of management. We've taken about 40% out of the decisioning, and that circle is smaller. What's ever in this circle is waste. Cycle time, cost, employee frustration, customer bureaucracy the customer sees. That's how much money we spent. That means we spend $13 million an hour. So the question is, when you go spend $75.5 billion, why do you spend that $75.5 billion? How's that going to help affect this answer? And that's caused us to spend 4 years realigning every dime. We've zero-based every dollar we spend from zero up. Don't tell me what you spent last year and I need 5% more. Tell me why you spent the first dollar. And that's caused us to drive an environment of zero-based budgeting and everything, realigning our cost, realigning our expense, to trying to improve the outcome and trying to measure that. It's caused us culturally to move a lot towards performance management, performance leadership, at the same time as we drive clarity of strategy, clarity of operational performance, and drive to achieve that. Rich and I talked a lot about culture earlier. You know, for us, our culture has gone from one of starting many of the business practices you think of today were started by Hewlett or Packard. Management by objectives is one. Management by walking around. Many of the things that are thought of today as norms in business started by Hewlett or Packard. And so when you go into an environment like that, for example, dots that people don't want to connect, and I'd encourage you to think holistically about the enterprise. Those 19,000 people we had in IT, at that time we had 16,000. So you'd ask the question, do you think it feels good when companies, cores or R&D, creating demand and servicing it, that our IT department could beat up our sales force from just a sheer physical power perspective? Does that feel right to you? Well, I never thought about that. Okay, well, I'd like you to think about it that way, because we've got to get our human capital in the right spot. So I think it's important, again, for a CEO to sit down and make sure we're optimizing the deployment to the enterprise. So when you get into R&D, for example, just telling me it's an R&D, I expect you to tell me how many people are really working on the new wireless printer that we just released. How many people are working on the newest Blade server in the world? Who's working on Skyroom video conferencing on a PC? These are new, innovative products. But if that's 10% of my R&D, where's the other 90? I want you to tell me what's going on. So I think inspecting, and what I try and do is inspect at a relatively low level of detail to get clarity, not just for me, but clarity in our management team explaining the choices they've made, either consciously or unconsciously, to align our spending to affect the outcome. So I don't really look at it as just cost cutting, because if it was easy to cut cost, everybody would do it. I think the general feeling of cost cutting is to say, You know, if it was easy to cut costs, you just call up everybody not doing anything important, show up in the parking lot, and then we'll let you go. And of course, nobody shows up. So if you start with, okay, let's examine the work, and the way to get cost out, sustained cost out, is to eliminate the work, change the work, make it go away. Don't do things that you don't need to do. So that's the way we look at it. And then the objective really is to spur the money into innovation. Not to cut the innovation, but as a percent of what you spend more on innovation, more on creating demand, and more on service. And one of the things, Rich and I talked a little earlier about culture. Very important at HP, that everything we do, we are the best. Absolutely the best at everything we touch. That as you're a manager, when you think about culture, and we're really trying to drive innovation, trying to create demand, and trying to create great service experiences beyond it. But let me give you this tip about culture. Whatever your culture you want it to be in whatever company you are, think about every time you recognize somebody. Think about every time you reward somebody. Think about every time you promote them. And to be very blunt, although people sometimes don't like this, every time you demote, or even if you fire somebody. Anytime you did any of those 5 things in our company, let's say I did that to somebody, any one of those 5 things, all 300,000 people in our company get the same message, what I value. Mm-hmm. And therefore, you have created culture every time you've taken an action. I did a thing with Business Week the other day where they were saying, listen, you know, it's so much, you know, you've had so much, me, have had so much success. It's just nonsense, right? I mean, our company requires a team effort. To build a great big company, it's a team sport. It requires lots of great people. And I got to tell you, one of the benefits I've had at HP is I've either inherited a great team and also recruited a great team. I have a great team of people that help me. They allow me to come here and talk today with confidence that our business is being executed. And that ain't me. My job is to create sort of the game plan and make sure those 3 points are done. You need great people, best people, motivate, and get the best people to work with for you. And when you get good ones, keep them, retain them, challenge them, motivate them. They are your success.